What up, peeps? We are back with episode 3 of the Spoken Thoughts Raw and Uncut podcast. This is Kolby.
This is Phil, the handsome one.
And this is John, the smarter one.
This is your 3 favorite cousins in the world. We're back with another episode. We know this past Saturday was Mental Health Awareness Day, and we just want to tell you and just make sure, again, like the mission of this podcast is just to make sure that you understand you're not alone. You're going through your own struggles. We struggle as well. We're all going through some sort of fight, and there will be better days beyond that. But let's get right into the episode and start off with that quote of the week segment. Phil, if you want to go first, I'm struggling to open up my damn drink here, as you guys can see if you're watching this or you're listening to this. But Phil, if you want to go first.
Yeah, for sure. So mine is from brother Jay Shetty. Well, I don't know if he said it or what, but he posted it. He tagged Wesley Snipes on it. He says, "Don't let the internet rush you. Nobody's posting their failures." And I think that's big because like a lot of us kind of try to post only positives without anybody really understanding the negatives that we had to go through to get to that point. But it also kind of like relates back to we're on our own schedule. You know, don't try to compare yourself to other people's successes. You're on your own track. You're on your own schedule. You'll eventually get there if you keep putting in the time and effort and all that stuff. So just do you, grind, do you. Everyone fails. Everyone bounces back too. So just keep grinding. Don't let anybody put you down. Don't let the internet rush you. And just keep driving.
And I think mine's relates kind of to yours because I think about like you're talking about comparing people when it comes to social media. And my quote is, "It's not what you are that holds you back. It's what you think you are not," by Dennis Waitley. And I picked this quote just because, again, and going into the comparison of things and especially what we focus our time on. I think a lot of times we kind of focus on our weaknesses, and that kind of prevents us from doing things or taking action. Like we're afraid to make the move to the mainland. We're afraid to do certain things because, you know, we don't think we're capable of that. But then we don't look at our strengths. It's like, well, you are capable. You're independent. You know, you're adaptable. You just got to certain strengths, and focusing on what makes you strong and what makes you special. That's what gets you through the long run, not what makes you weak or what you view as your weakness type of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, just like last week, me and Kolby seem to have similar quotes. So mine is, "Life has no limitations except the ones you make." So basically what he was saying, right? Like you are your biggest enemy. If you put this boundary around yourself thinking that you can't do things, then yeah, you know, that's probably what's going to happen. So today's topic, we're going to be talking about moving to the mainland. So for us, like if we put this limitation where, man, the mainland's such a huge place, I don't know if I can handle it because we're from a small island, then yeah, that's a mentality that you're going to have, and it's going to show when you're out there. You know, you're going to be that small person that's going to be kind of afraid to branch out. But kind of setting expectations, not limiting yourself, that's going to be the key, especially when it comes to expanding and branching out to other places.
Great minds think alike, bruh. Great minds think
apparently.
alike. Phil, you're the I don't know
you
about
get on
you,
it,
Phil.
Lucky you guys. No, yeah, that's true. And a lot of people kind of look at a big task or like a big move, and it's like it kind of brings you down thinking about everything else that kind of comes along with that. Like you're moving to the mainland, you're kind of thinking about independence, being independent, kind of like where am I going to work? Where am I going to live? How am I going to live? What friends am I going to have?
Yeah.
What family I'm going to have if there is family there and all that stuff. It's just kind of making sure that you don't bring yourself down before you get into the motion of everything too. So
you set the tone though, Phil. Like John was talking about, like obviously today's topic is moving, but also I think about like I was talking to Teresa, another of our cousins, and I realized I was like, hey, like T, like you actually were the ones that kind of set the tone, like when you left for college. So I don't know what it was like for you, Phil, because I mean, yeah, you had T, but also you were kind of like, if I'm talking about inspiration wise and what kind of showed me like, hey, I can make the move and like not get homesick like a lot of the other people that leave Hawaii. It was you and T. So I guess it's a different situation for you because you were kind of the first to make that move out of all three of us.
Yeah, it was actually cool, and 100%. I think Teresa is a huge impact on that. Like Teresa went to freaking Jackson State I think it was in Mississippi, and there's literally, she had nobody out there other than when they helped her move out there. And I was like, oh man, if Teresa could go out there, you know, take care of herself, handle her own stuff, then, you know, I think I can do it. You know, it's just taking that leap, you know, just believing that, you know, whether it's going to be good or bad, you don't know until you take that first step. And then when you take that first step, it's like all your actions are tailored to what your goals are, or what you want to do in life. And like seeing Teresa be successful with bowling and everything out in Jackson State, it kind of motivated me to know that, you know, it's possible for us local kids to go out somewhere and kind of be successful. And Teresa went to Jackson State. I came to Vegas, and like knowing Vegas is the 9th island, it was a little more easier for me. Plus Mama Sheila, Papa Warren were already living here. So that whole homesickness was kind of, I want to say, like, it wasn't as big because Mama Sheila and Papa Warren and them were here. I'd see them almost every weekend. So of course I'd get the good home cooked meals, even on the holidays. Like Auntie Sherry, them were here too, so holidays would still be big, like just like how we had it back home. So it wasn't really, homesickness wise, it wasn't bad. The only thing I really missed was like my mom or the beach at the time. And just like I said, taking that leap of faith, going, believing in yourself too, that you can face any challenge that is thrown your way, and that eventually things will fall into place, I guess, based on your actions and the way you respond and all that stuff to certain things that kind of come in your way.
Let's give people, I guess, perspective, like, because if this is the first episode they're tuning in, or if they missed it the last couple episodes, let's talk about. So I moved in 2015, or I left Hawaii in 2015, and I went to the University of Minnesota Crookston, all the way in Crookston, Minnesota, which is about 6 hours from Minneapolis, if people know where that is. John, what year did you leave Hawaii?
I don't even remember, but so I was originally going to the University of Hawaii at Manoa for 3 years, and then I ended up transferring to UNLV. So I want to say it was like 2016, maybe. Yeah,
I think so. Or
So,
2016. I think
yeah, 2016. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, for me, I mean, it was a little different, I guess, from you guys, because you guys just went straight to the mainland. For me, UH just seemed like a better fit at the time. You know, it was local, so it was nice. I enjoyed being at UH. But I think what really pushed me to move was I felt a little too comfortable in Hawaii. You know, like in Hawaii, it's they call it a rock, right? It's just an island. Everybody pretty much knows everybody, and I don't know. I just wasn't very excited about being in Hawaii. I almost felt like there was more for me outside of Oahu, so I wanted to kind of push myself and put myself in an uncomfortable position. So moving to Vegas, I mean, like Phillip said, it definitely was easier than, say, like for you, Kolby, Minnesota, where you don't have family. But then like in Vegas, we have Mama Sheila, plus Phillip was already there. So that was an easier transition, but still just kind of getting used to not being home, you know, being away from my mom and my grandpa, and just putting myself out there, you know, like I feel like being from Hawaii, we're comfortable, but then when we step out of that comfort zone, like everything changes. Like even the way we talk, you know, I don't know if you guys notice it, but like whenever I'm in a different work setting, like I'm not a completely different person, but the way I talk, I have to be a little bit more cognizant of what I'm saying and how I'm saying things, versus here, like, you know, we just naturally kind of let it out. But I think that's something that I actually like, right? We have to adapt, being able to adapt as much as we want to continue to talk the way we talk or feel the way we do. I think it is important for us to adapt, and that's what helps us grow. You know, I'm not saying like staying in Hawaii doesn't help you grow, but in terms of, you know, moving outside of your comfort zone, that's how we grow as individuals, whether it be in the workforce or other aspects of life, you know, just kind of expanding our horizons and seeing what's out there in the world. And I mean, that's why I give like UNT a lot of credit, right? Because for our family, we're the first generation of college students, you know, like no one older than us have been to college. So there was no real like blueprint of how to do things, no real, you know, family advice, like, oh, when you go to college, you should do this. It was pretty much navigating the waters yourselves. So having UNT be the first ones to go out there and kind of set the tone and provide a good example, I think that's what helped us, and even, you know, like Kai and Kason just to help us get along in college and just make the transition a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my, like you mentioned, our younger cousin, my younger brother, Kason, he's in Missouri now, and he made that move too. So it's kind of cool to see all four of us move. But like John, similar to you, like the reason why I left Hawaii and decided to go all the way to Minnesota was kind of like, I think I felt comfortable too, but I also saw it as like a challenge because I think I guess you could say the stigma or the stereotype is that like everyone that leaves Hawaii the first year ends up going back home and gets homesick, and they don't go back, and they just go back home and do that sort of thing. So I saw it as a challenge too, and that was the reason why, like, coming out of high school, I had a couple offers to stay in the West Coast, play football, go to college around there, or even down south. But I was like, let me go as far away as possible. Let's see if I can actually do it. And then if I can actually get through it, then it's like, well, I can basically live anywhere. Like it's such it was such a culture shock for me. Like this town that I live in is 8,000 people only. And I don't got, and the majority of it is Caucasian. Like a majority of the people are here are Caucasian. And when I talk, like you guys were saying, I had to adapt. Like I couldn't speak Pidgin. I couldn't speak like how I would speak back home. And it was
I
could, but they would,
yeah.
they wouldn't understand. They would be like, what the hell? But then it was funny because we have a lot of international students, and international students, they don't speak like proper English. They speak broken English.
Yeah.
And like, I could understand them a lot better than I could understand like American people. Like it was so weird. Or like we would, like, a lot of my best friends now is from India. And like we'll be in like a group of people and they'll say something kind of like broken English. And I'm like, oh, he meant this, he meant that. Like I was kind of like translating for them.
Yeah.
Because I was, that's how I spoke. And
As close to our language, yeah.
Yeah, it's as close as possible. And I say I'm bilingual. I guess we basically are bilingual, but it was definitely a challenge, I would say, but it's something I would have never changed. And it's something I always push people to do is like, if you can leave home, especially Hawaii, I would do it. I mean, we're on a rock, like you were saying, John. I mean, you got the same 3, 4, 5 malls that you've been going to your whole life. You got the same things you're doing your whole life. It's such a small island. You basically know
things
everybody.
Get repetitive.
Things get repetitive.
That's what I felt in Hawaii. Like it was just almost to a point where I was going through the motion with things, and it just wasn't exciting. And yeah, just expanding my horizons, seeing what's out there. Because again, you guys were already out in the mainland and growing. So I just kind of didn't want to be left behind in that aspect. So even though it would have threw off my whole trajectory for graduation and stuff, I still decided to say like, forget it and just transfer, even if I'd be behind a little bit. And I'm glad I did, like the experience that I had in Vegas, just being around different people. It is something, like you said, you don't take for granted. But I do want to ask you guys, were there any like negatives from moving, like anything that affected you negatively in your mind or like held you back, would you say? At least at the beginning.
You can go first, Kolby. I got to think about this one.
I mean, one thing right off the bat, I was in a long distance relationship. I mean, I had a girlfriend at the time, and that was kind of, I think a lot of times, obviously we have family, we have everything like that, but like it's hard to let go when you have roots or like something like that's like pulling you back home.
Yeah.
But also like you feel alone, like, you know what I mean? Like you just feel alone. Like you move to a new place. You don't really know anybody. People don't speak the same way you do. People don't eat the same type of food you do. They don't even know I'm Filipino. They think I'm Mexican or Native American. Like they just like, it's just weird. It was weird. And I don't know, but I mean, like, it's interesting because I never got homesick. I don't think I ever went through getting homesick. Like I missed home, but there was never a period of time where I was like, oh, like I have to go back. I need to go back. I need to do this. Like I loved being uncomfortable, where in a sense, like I lived in there for a long time. And like even right now, like, and that's probably the reason why I want to move now, is because I'm comfortable again. Like I'm comfortable being in Crookston, Minnesota. And I'm kind of like, I need to find my next uncomfort zone. Because I think like everybody says it, right? You grow when you're uncomfortable. You grow in that zone of being uncomfortable. And that's kind of what my situation was.
Yeah, so many doors open too when you step out of your comfort zone. Like it's hard to step out in the first place, but when you take that first step, it's like you got so many doors open that you can select, and then you just go to one door, you just live your life, and then eventually the actions that you kind of do, or the things you do, somehow with time, with all this extra stuff, the people you meet, it all ends up lining up. And like, that's how you know that, there's a lot of times there's no wrong decision that you can make. Well, of course there's bad decisions you can make, but like you'll go in one direction, there's always, you always have options. Like, you can never get stuck on one direction. There's always multiple things, multiple ways you can go, multiple ways you can improve. And like, when we stepped out of our comfort zone, you just look, it's like a blank sheet of paper. You can write whatever you want to write on that piece of paper when you step out of your comfort zone, because there's really no boundaries. Like, you just kind of set your own boundaries, exactly like what John said. All the limitations is all on you. And when you kind of step out of your comfort zone, there's really no limits. And like, as far as like something negative from moving to the mainland, I think would probably be just spending time or just not appreciating time with certain family members. Because like, we go to the mainland, and then like there's certain, or like older aunts and uncles, or like grandparents, or all that stuff. Like, sometimes we go to the mainland, next thing we know, like, we're back home for a funeral or something like that, you know what I mean? And there's times where like, yeah, you wish you could spend time with these people, but these people understand, and there's things that they can understand, that you're doing things for yourself, you're trying to better your future, and they're always going to support you no matter what. But I think that was one thing that I thought about. Like, I remember when Auntie B passed away, because I remember, John, when Auntie B was sick, and I think we were making the prune muis at her house
for my graduation.
How close we got to Auntie B, and then out of nowhere, I know she was sick and all that stuff. Then my mom guys called that she passed away. It's like, you think about, wow, like, you're up here, your whole family's down there. They're kind of like going through the grieving process. You wish you were there. You wish you kind of could spend more time. But I think that's the only negative thing, is just spending more time with people that, kind of deserve the time, or you kind of wish you had more time with certain people, I guess, is a thing. But
how about you, John? I mean, what was your negative of moving? And then you moved twice. Obviously, you moved to Vegas, and then now you live in the San Jose, San Francisco Bay Area. So what was the negative for you?
I mean, I guess for me, going to Vegas, at least, the negative for me was just felt lonely, like, so I moved there, went into like my junior year, basically. So everybody kind of already had their, groups of friends that they had and that they talked to. So I thought that was kind of a hard part, is just getting associated with more people. But I mean, like you said, just putting yourself out there. One of the best things about moving is that you can be whoever you want to be. You can kind of restart. And if you were a certain way in Hawaii, you can always be someone else, not like completely different person, but you can be a little bit more outgoing, or change the perspective of how you view things. So that was kind of a nice thing about being in Vegas. You have a blank slate. But yeah, the beginning was really hard. Just, you're just shy, right? And also being from Hawaii, like, you're a little self-conscious about how you come across, like, I know you got what we were saying, the way we talk, sometimes it can kind of seem uneducated, like we don't know what we're talking about. Like, we slur words sometimes, like we mumble a lot, but that's just kind of like how Hawaii people talk, right? We talk fast and we talk in broken English. So that was something that was hard for me, just kind of getting over that self-consciousness about how I talk. But in terms of moving to California, honestly, that was a lot easier than moving to Vegas, just because, of course, I had Alyssa, my fiance, who just made the situation a lot easier. But I do think that moving to Vegas helped with the move to California. I kind of knew what to expect, being in a different environment, and it kind of primed me to be ready for the big move to California. But yeah, negatively, I mean, it's just being self-conscious, doubting myself, for being in Hawaii for so long, you just get comfortable, and being the first time being out of my comfort zone, that was really hard to deal with. But of course, Phillip was there, and, he really helped me. And of course, having Mama Sheila and Papa Warren, so that made it a lot easier. Flag football. Yeah, exactly. And meeting friends that Phillip met. So, I mean, that's definitely where it helps, just meeting new people, getting comfortable with where you are, and, not being afraid to branch out and talk to other people. And, that's the biggest thing for me.
It was like a culture shock. So I don't know if you guys, so like up here, like when you walk by, so like when we greet each other in Hawaii, like we hug and kiss like on the cheek, or we'll say what's up, or like whatever, like, you know what I mean? But like up here, obviously they don't do that, right? And maybe in Vegas you guys do it a lot more, but up here they don't do that. So, and they don't call people auntie and uncle. Like we call everybody auntie and uncle. So like I would meet people's parents, or like just meet like older people in general, and they would say, "Oh, call me by my first name, Alex or Jessica," and like I was like, you know, you feel super awkward, like weird. I was like, bro, I was like, so like I would avoid like saying their names. Like it was so funny because like I would go through conversations and not even say their names, and then obviously that's not right either. But it was like, it was so weird. And then they would ask you, like, anytime you walk past somebody, if you knew them or not, they're like, "Oh, how are you doing?" And like I was like, I figured, I was like, are they actually asking me how are you doing? So like for the first like year, I would think they would ask how are you doing, and I would stop and I'd like talk to them and have a conversation, like, "Oh yeah, you know, my day's going good, like whatever, how about you?" And then I learned after a year, it was just kind of like one of those things, like it's just like a high. It's like it's not meant to ask a conversation. Like they don't want to talk to you. Like they you know what I mean? They don't want to talk to you. It's just like
just being
say
friendly,
how are you? Yeah, being friendly.
Nice,
just walk away. Like don't turn around and talk to me. I'm not asking you to talk to me. So now I know, like when people are asking you how you're doing, I'm just like, okay, like hi, I'll see you later. Like type of deal. I don't stop and actually have an awkward conversation to have them look weird at me, like, who the hell is this guy? Like, why the hell are you talking to me? I just said hi, that's it.
Yeah, it's cool though, and it's unique because like us, everybody's going through the same thing, and nobody says it. Like we're all walking this brand new campus. There's people from freaking like Japan, Korea, like you're working with international kids, and there's people from Hawaii, there's people from like Michigan, all that stuff, and we're all there kind of scared. We're all in our shell, and then all it takes is just a like how's it going kind of thing. Who knows, that's going to be like your next best friend. And it's cool because like some of the interactions that we have with our friends at college, those kind of end up pushing out to be super good relationships. Like I can, one of nowadays there's a lot of like pyramid schemes going on, but back like when I first started UNLV, one of the big ones was Vima. It's like Verb. It was an energy drink thing, and I don't know if it's a pyramid scheme. I think it's a pyramid scheme. I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on that stuff. Yeah, but like we jumped on a conference call, and this guy Pono, that was the first like weird real conversation I had with him. He was like trying to get me to sign up for this stuff, and like I was in for the money. I was like, yeah, I'm down. That sounds so cool. And then like he told me how much you got to put down. I was like, oh, okay, maybe not. And then like come to find out, he was on the same intramural team as me that semester. So we talked, and then we put all that pyramid scheme stuff aside. We ended up talking. Like he told me he was from Kauai, I was from Oahu, but he went to Kamehameha. And then from that conversation, like from meeting him through that conference call, talking about Verve and Vima, and then being on the same team as him, we eventually grew like these past few years to be super close friends. And I consider him like one of my better friends because he's one person I trust and I can talk to. And I think that's probably one of the cool things about moving to the mainland is like you move, you got to find somewhere you're comfortable in. You got to find people you're comfortable talking to and letting go and stuff. And Pono's one of those people where like, you know, we're here, we have family here, but we won't necessarily see them all the time. And then the next closest thing from family is your close friends, and that was them. So it's cool. It's unique. Everybody's kind of there on a limb, you know, not knowing exactly what tomorrow's going to bring or what moving to Vegas is going to bring. We end up in these situations, and we end up finding like these cool groups of people.
Remember the was it like the sports betting one that you were trying to get us into too? Did he try to get you into that?
Yeah, was that?
Blame Pono for that one too, because
I remember that.
I forget.
I never signed up for that.
I never did. But
thanks,
I was like,
thanks for the support.
Because I remember because Chanel was like, I don't know if you guys should sign up for that, because I think you were involving her in the conversation. I was like, okay, if Auntie Chanel's saying maybe I shouldn't do it, maybe I shouldn't do it, because I was like,
yeah,
I don't know. I was like, I don't know.
I tried so hard to get her to sign up too, and it's like, it's weird, like all those stuff you don't.
Well, you never really knew what was happening. You know what I mean? Like that's what it was like.
Going out in the blind, like nothing was even out yet. We were just like throwing all our eggs in the basket and just running with it, like.
Maybe that's
That's
the
a
maybe
crazy
that's a
thing.
negative too. When we move to a new place, we're kind of
That
gullible and
is.
open.
We're gullible. Yeah, yeah.
Yup.
I
That's a
mean,
good
like
one.
in
That's a good
Hawaii,
one. Yeah.
like there's so much aloha. You know, you don't expect people to rip you off, or like you expect the best out of everybody, and that's how it should always be. But I feel like in the mainland, you got to be smarter, a little bit more aware. I feel like people try to take advantage of you more. So that's one thing too that I notice being up here is I'm a little not paranoid, but I'm always cautious about the people around me. Like you never know if someone is gonna mug you or try to sell you something, or like I just find that I'm a lot more cautious being up here, and it's not necessarily a negative thing, but it is something I noticed. Like
Like
not
you
that the
don't.
mainland is
Yeah.
more dangerous, but we usually think of Hawaii as being a safe haven and like everybody just has the aloha spirit. Versus here, some people are a little bit more rude than others. There isn't that much of a community, but that is one thing, right? We are a little bit more susceptible, and we're just gullible because we have so much aloha spirit and we want to see the
Yeah.
best in people. But sometimes we just get taken advantage of.
Yeah.
It
You know.
is.
You don't know people's intentions until you're
Mhm.
hurt. Like
Mhm.
It's safer. It's safer in Hawaii for sure. Cause like, I mean, that's the one thing. Like, shout out
So
to
nowadays.
Minnesota people. Like, they're just as nice as Hawaii people. I feel like the fact that people here, the gas stations allow you to fill your gas before you pay. Like, who in the world lets you do
Trust.
that?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
you.
yeah.
That's talking about like trust. And then you don't know how many people out here. I mean, obviously it's winter, super cold, but they'll leave their car running with a key in the ignition and go in the store for like 15, 20 minutes, and
Oh,
nobody
That's the kind of
steals
stuff
their
we do in
cars.
Hawaii. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
bro, I'm like, what the hell? So it's the same. But then also I was living in California with my ex-girlfriend at their place, and like they were like, anytime I was like, oh, I'm gonna go walk to the gas station down the street 15 minutes. They
Mhm.
were like, you probably shouldn't go walk down the street in the
Yeah.
gas station by yourself. Maybe you should maybe you should just take the car. I was like, nah, I kind of just want to get outdoors. They're like, no. So it's like interesting because like again, I think it goes into like culture
Mhm.
and the differences. Like we have to learn how to adapt in the cultures, and that's why I think for a lot of people that's where the homesickness comes from, is like the differences in culture, like the differences in the way, I guess, in food, the way people communicate, like the rules of engagement, just all those different things. Now, did you guys ever get homesick? Obviously, the ninth island, but like, did you
Hmm.
ever like, because at one point you guys didn't go home to Hawaii for like 2-3 years, I think, at one point, like for a while. But did you guys ever get homesick where you like, frick this, like I just want to go move back home and live back in Hawaii?
Honestly, well, for me, no. I never really had really bad homesickness where it brought me down and made me want to move back, kind of thing. And again, I think it goes back to creating that group of friends, that circle that you feel comfortable with. Because my Mama Sheila guys would go back home summertime for like months at a time. So it would just be me up here, or like I'd go to Teresa's house for barbecues every now and then. But as far as homesick goes, no. I think I was comfortable just being kind of up here. And the cool thing is, like going through high school, and for us three, we were kind of on lockdown, like from growing up till what, like till we
Yeah.
graduated high school. I feel like so you come up here, and
Come up
there's
here,
it's
More freedom.
Yup.
The
nah, we're all
party.
independent. We can have fun, do what we want, but at the same time, like the whole our parents locking us down kind of grounds us. Yeah, and I think just creating a good circle, a circle that you can trust people in, and like that group of friends that you can trust in, that kind of pushed all that homesickness away. Plus, like over here, there's so many places you can grab good Hawaiian food, or like if I wanted to go to the beach, we drive to California, go to like Newport Beach, or like another thing is like snowboarding. Snowboarding is so much fun. Like it's
Let the
a
people
lot
know
of
how
there's
much time you
alternate.
hurt yourself, though.
Yeah, I know broken boys. Yeah, we still go though.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like you're saying, I think that's what prevents the homesickness, right? Kind of enjoying where you are and finding things that will keep you there as well. Like if you're just going to a different place, regardless if it's Vegas, Minnesota, wherever, and you're not setting roots there as well, and being there for the long run, not just physically, but also mentally putting yourself there, then yeah, you're gonna set yourself up to want to go back home and to leave college early and go back home. I mean, nothing wrong with that. Sometimes I do think it's not for everybody, right? But if you do go to the mainland with the expectations of, man, I can't wait to go back home, then yeah, you're gonna set yourself up for failure. So for me, like you said, Phil, having that group and being with family and having Hawaii food in Vegas, that definitely helped. Because when I moved to Vegas in 2016, we never went back to Hawaii until like maybe 2018 when Uncle Charles passed away. And even then, since then, I've only went back once, and I enjoyed being back in Hawaii, but I never really like thought about like, man, I want to move back. Yeah. And it's just because we become so accustomed to the lifestyle up here in the mainland, like just the freedom that we have and the ability to do not what we want, but there's just a lot more freedom being on this bigger land and being on a rock and on an island. So I miss Hawaii. I miss the people. I miss the food, but I never really had that homesickness. And I think what really helped is the people around me. Even here in California, it kind of reminds me of Hawaii in some ways, just because of it's a very mixed pot, right? There's people from all different places of the world, so that helps. And yeah, just I miss Hawaii for the people and the food, but it's not something that is going to bring me back, because again, there are things here that keep me here, and I rooted myself in California, so I don't necessarily have the desire to want to go back. And I think that's the key. If you're going to a place, you kind of want to root yourself there and have expectations that you're going to be here for the long run, then just kind of constantly think about like, man, I miss my friends back home. I miss food back home, because then you're always going to have something that you're looking back on, right? You always want to look forward to the opportunities that await you in the mainland or wherever. It doesn't necessarily have to be from Hawaii to the mainland. Wherever you go, you want to make sure that the opportunity that you have there, you take full advantage of and you're full set on it. Because if you have a part of you still back home, that's what's going to potentially hold you back,
Yeah. It was kind of like a long-term long distance relationship. Like you brought up Uncle Charles's funeral. I remember going back home. Remember when we first got to in front of the house, we were just recording, just like visualizing everything, like playing football on the street, just seeing everything like, oh man, we're here. Like we grew up here. It's cool. You go back home. It's like, we've been gone for so long. It feels like we was just here yesterday. Like, it doesn't matter how long you're away, you go home is going to be home. And I think that's what kind of made things easier too, to understand. Like we went home, granted, it was hard to leave and come back, but we go home, everything is still like comforting.
It's
everything
like how we
is
left
the same.
it.
Yeah, exactly how we left it. And that kind of gives you comfort to go back and understand it. Home's not going to change. Home's always going to be there. If you got to go and get away for a little while, run to Hawaii, have fun a little bit, and then get sick of the traffic and then go back to your normal lives.
And I think I would take pride in it. I think at first, like John, how you were talking about how like we had to suppress, in a way I suppressed the fact that I was from Hawaii because of the way we talked, because of how different we were. So it was kind of not embarrassing, I would say, but I try to be more Americanized, mainland, however you want to put it. But then like I started to embrace the fact that like, hey, being from Hawaii is actually special. Like there's not many people that can say like, I'm from Hawaii. Like when I tell people we're from Hawaii, they're like, oh, you live in paradise. Well, I'm like, that's not necessarily what makes us, from Hawaii. I think it's like the certain values that we have. Like we value diversity. Like we know, like we're cultured. Like we're as cultured as anybody can be. Like we know Samoans, we know African Americans, we know Micronesians. I know racist people don't even know about. Like you know what I mean? Like I tell people,
that's so true.
I'm like, bruh, I was like, you ever heard of a Micronesian? And they were like, no, what is that? I was like, well, that's an actual ethnicity. And I was like, let me teach you the history about how we bombed their lands, and that's why they get to come to our land. Like it was just, there's certain information that I know that people don't know, and that's cool, and that's what makes me unique. And I've kind of embraced that in the past couple of years. Like, no, actually, it's special, and it's not something I should suppress. It's something I should embrace and really show people, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and like it's crazy. It's crazy. Like a lot of people, if they never been to Hawaii, they really think Hawaii is like its own, like
paradise.
It's not even a part of the United States. Yeah, like they think it's its own freaking country. And they think that we grew up in grass huts and like we wear big grass skirts and and it's funny. And they're like, "Oh, you guys like pineapple and everything?" I'm like, "No, that's
Pineapple pizza.
no." I never tried pineapple pizza, so I can't
Don't
knock
ever,
it. But
don't ever. You tried
Hey, no,
pineapple
it's
pizza,
good.
John?
What are you talking about?
Oh
I
my
heard it's
God,
good. Yeah.
I like a
I
good
don't
Hawaiian
know.
pizza. I mean, I don't go out of my way to order it, but if it's there, I'll eat it.
Or
Yeah.
like everybody when the Moana came out. Oh, Maui's your uncle. What the
Yeah.
hell, bro? Or Lilo and Stitch. Oh,
Yeah.
did you watch
Lilo and Stitch?
one
Yeah.
of the first? Like it was so funny because obviously I'm up here. There's not many Hawaii people, so the
Mhm.
first like conversation started with everybody. They'd be like, "Hey, you're that guy from Hawaii, right?" And so like it was cool.
But it's a
Like
good-
the
it's a
first
good
couple
icebreaker,
times.
though.
Yeah, it was a
Icebreaker,
good
yup,
icebreaker. The
yup.
first couple times, like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, I'm from Hawaii." But after a while, it's like, okay, like let's change it up a little bit. Yeah, I'm the guy from
Yeah,
Hawaii.
you don't want to be known as that guy from
Yeah,
Hawaii.
yeah. Like I don't want to be known as that guy. And then like it was always funny because people would be like, "Oh, are you Hawaiian?" I'm like, "No, I'm Filipino
Mhm.
Japanese. I'm not Hawaiian." So it's like, what? But I want to talk about something, Philip. You talked about how we were kind of locked down when growing up. Now, do you guys think that was? I mean, obviously, we turned out okay. I would like to say we turned out okay.
Yeah, we're
But
pretty
do you
good.
think?
At
Do
least,
you
yeah.
think it was? Do you think it was good or bad? Because at the same time, I feel like there's some situations where you see people who are locked down, and when they get their freedom, they go crazy.
Rebel. Yup.
Yeah, like rebel. But also, like for some reason, for me, I also thought like maybe being locked down didn't let me figure out who I actually was until I got to college in the mainland, and that's when I figured
Yeah.
out like my actual identity. So, what do you guys? I mean, obviously, Auntie Chanel, mom, everybody in our family, you guys did an amazing job. This is
Yeah.
just
Don't get
this is
mad. Don't get mad at this.
hypothetical what ifs here,
Yeah.
but like, do you guys think it was good or bad about being locked down? Would you do it to your future kids? Would you be just as strict to your future kids
Hell
the way
yeah.
we were?
Yeah. So
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't
I-
like locked down, like we couldn't do anything. It was more so like we asked permission, right? And that's
Yeah.
kind of how
Yeah.
it should be, right? So, like, I think at the end of the day, I'm thankful for how we grew up because, again, we learned to respect our elders, and we don't go into the world thinking we can do whatever we want, right? So I think that being quote unquote locked down helped us kind of realize like what we need to do because again, I remember we couldn't go outside until we did our homework, right? So that's one thing. So just learning to do what we need to do to be responsible, and then we can have fun, right? I mean, it wasn't like we couldn't do anything. We just had to ask permission. We got what we needed to get done, and then okay, you can go ahead and have fun. Just make sure you check in, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's how it always should be. We should never have complete freedom as young adults, as on being under 18, because especially now the world is crazy. So
yeah.
best believe when we have kids, like I'm going to be the same way. I'm going to make sure I want to know where they are, because again, they're young, they're impressionable, they can be taken advantage of. So I want to make sure that, I still am a part of their lives and making sure they're being protected, even if I'm not there physically. Right. So, I
Yeah.
mean, hands down, I'm grateful for the way we live because again, it made us appreciate not being locked down. Right. I mean,
Yeah.
nowadays having this freedom, it feels amazing. And I think it was just the right amount of discipline and freedom. It's not like we couldn't do anything at all. It was more so let's check in, let's make sure this is okay. Who are you going to be with? Where are you going to be? If they approve, then cool, we can do it. But if not, then that's just what it is. And I think that's what helped us kind of be controlled and have a level of understanding of what we can and cannot do. Because again, the complete opposite side of the spectrum, people who could do whatever they want. I mean, it's pretty wild right now, like the lives they live. And I think that us
Yeah.
being a little bit more grounded kept us grounded throughout life and not go crazy. And, we're in a pretty good situation, I'd say.
Yeah, and there are good people that kind of had the freedom and they were just like grew up independent and that's what made them strong and all that stuff. And
Mhm.
but like for us, how we were locked down, I think it was good because like one of my friends told me that like your brain supposedly isn't like at its mature or natural or it doesn't, it's not fully grown until you're like 23 to 25 or something.
Mhm.
And just thinking about that, like
decision-making.
we're locked down. We're in high school. We're going through this stuff. Like granted, while we're going through high school, we think we know everything, but little do we know back then, like there's
I knew
nothing-
everything.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. So yeah, okay. No, yeah. So we think we know everything, and then we don't understand why our parents are telling us no, why our parents are like telling us, you gotta check in every so often, or we can't go to this place at this certain time. And like by them locking us down, keeping us here, not letting us go out when we want to go out, but letting us go out when it's good for us, kind of thing. They kind of molded our brains when we were in high school, or molded our character, our personality to kind of get through certain things later in life. So like if we weren't spending time with our family, or if we were doing things on our own, trying to learn things our own way while we were in high school, things could be a lot more messed up than it is now. Like, but instead we're spending time with our family, we're learning these good core ethics or of being like a moral person, like being family oriented. Then you go out to college, you're independent, you learn more things. But then you think back, oh, mom told me like maybe I shouldn't like do this, be smart, make good choices. Like mom told me I shouldn't drink necessarily or whatever. Then you're like, oh, yeah, you see all these guys getting into trouble, and then you're like, yeah, my mom wouldn't approve of this stuff. And I know like when we're in college, like we do stuff, we experiment, but there's always that thought in the back of your head that's like, oh, I remember when I got in trouble, or my mom gave me a big lecture, or like my parents had a big argument about this event that had happened. And if I do this, if I go through this motion, then I might end up in that situation. Like when we're going through middle school and high school, that's probably the most important times where I feel like the parent should kind of just wrap their arms around the kid, teach them their knowledge, shed the light on all the negatives that they're going to see, which is kind of like what we went through. Granted, like our parents didn't tell us like, we're going to meet bad people in life. Instead, they just kind of motivated us or pushed us to just roll with the punches, and they didn't necessarily like say anything or teach us. They did it themselves. And I think by them keeping us locked down, we were forced to learn from them firsthand, like going through whatever they had to go through. Like, and it impresses me now, like the things that we say, the things you two say, even though like you guys are younger than me, like we still remember everything. And like being locked down, we learned so many things that if we weren't locked down, we wouldn't be as wise or mature. We wouldn't address certain aspects or like certain situations the way we would today. Like it's crazy. And I'm thankful that we were locked down. And it's crazy because like our family there was a unit, it wasn't just my mom being strict. It was like freaking your mom, Auntie May, Ninang, just everybody is on the same boat. And that's why I'm so thankful to have our family be as strict as they were.
And I think I remember, it's funny you talking about the whole unit being strict. And I think there was one time I lied about going to the mall with like my girlfriend at the time. And I remember I saw Auntie Lorene, she was shopping at like TJ Maxx. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, I'm gonna run left, you run right, okay? We go in opposite directions. And I remember I saw Auntie, I was like, hi Auntie. She's like, oh, what you doing here? She's like, where's your mom and dad? I was like, oh, they're at home. I just came. I'm walking through. I'm going to practice now at high school. But like it was just so funny because like, but it's also interesting because like our family, when you talk about us being locked down, it was kind of the opposite for them. Like if you think about it, like they were like they got to do what like they were kind of wild and free.
Yeah.
And like even now looking at it, it's interesting because we don't smoke cigarettes, and none of us smoke cigarettes, and our whole family smoke cigarettes. Like we have enough secondhand smoke where we basically smoked our whole life. Like we pretty honestly much, like everybody in our family smokes. So it's interesting. But I think like you were saying, Phillip, I think our family, well, they necessarily didn't like tell us what to do or how to do it. They gave us the ability to think for ourselves. Like they gave us the ability to make the right decision, like our decision-making process. They gave us the foundation to make the right decisions. And I think that's why we kind of thrived when we left home, because we were away from family, but our whole life we've kind of been prepared to be independent. Like we've always been family oriented, but they were kind of grooming us for when it was time to leave. We were able to be independent by ourselves. Yes, we miss our family, but we were able to build those core skills, those core foundation that we're able to thrive. Because like I can't really recall, it was never like our family never pushed us to leave. They were kind of like, you do whatever you want to do. You do what your heart says. Like if it's stay home, stay home. If it's go to the mainland, go to the mainland. So they never forced us to do one thing. but it like they always just encouraged us to chase after what we wanted to chase. And I think that's important. And that's something with my future kids that I'm gonna do too. It's like I'm gonna help them make the best decision. I'm not gonna tell them this and that. I'm gonna be like, okay, well, think about it. Like, this is the right thing. This is the wrong thing. And then hopefully by the end, they have the ability to choose what's right from wrong. And I think that's what worked out for us three.
Yeah, I think that's what's the difference, right? Like, they didn't just lock us down and say nothing, you know. They gave us a reason why we couldn't go out, you know, like, oh, mom, can I go out with my friends at 10 o'clock at night? No, you can't do it, because, you know, they gave us reasons why they're keeping us here, not just to have control over us. And I think that's what helped us understand that we're not being controlled, we're not being locked down, but it's for a good reason. And at the end of the day, that's what kind of made us realize, like, the dangers out there in the world, being responsible. And like you said, when we went to the mainland, we already had this understanding of, all right, I have to be responsible and not get myself in trouble, you know. And I think that's the main difference, right? They taught us the lessons, and you mentioned how it was a complete opposite for them. They could do whatever they want. They realized that the situation that they were in is because of that complete freedom that they had. And it's not necessarily anyone's fault. That's just the way it was back then. But they understood, like, man, I had all of this freedom, no one to tell me when to stop. And I'm not in the most ideal situation. Now that I have kids, I got to make sure I can do what I can, you know? So even like with smoking, right? We always got threats, and you better not smoke. You better not smoke. And to this day, we don't smoke because, again, they understood the problems that they had. And even though they couldn't do anything about it, they knew that it was wrong, and they knew that they wanted to change, but they couldn't. They made sure that they put all their energy and their effort to make sure that we didn't come out that way.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's huge, you know, like, I feel most kids will see it as, man, my mom and dad are just controlling me. They're telling me what to do. But they made sure that they made us understand why they're controlling us, why they're telling us what to do. Because at the end of the day, they lived through that life, right? They know what it's like to have too much freedom, to have all of these bad influences out there that could potentially, you know, not ruin your life, but make things harder for you. So they wanted to make sure they could keep us away from that and educate us about that kind of stuff. Not just keep us away from it, but tell us why we should stay away from it, and, you know, keep our heads focused and leveled. And I think that's what makes a difference for sure.
Yeah. And they were, like, to kind of clarify, like, specify, they were strict. They kept us locked down, but to an extent, they gave us freedom to where we could kind of shape our future the way we wanted to. Like, when we went to high school, I just remember my mom asking what I wanted to do. She asked me, like, going through my sophomore and junior year, what I wanted to do when I grew up. And I was like, frick, I don't know, work construction, maybe, you know? And then, so that lingered on. We go to high school, we meet people like Miss Watanabe, you know, our college guidance, our college counselor. And she's the one that kind of motivated me. She's the one that initially put the thought in my head to go to UNLV. And I was like, oh, Vegas, okay, that would be pretty cool. My parents like to go visit. So, like, granted, at home, our parents were strict. They kept us locked down. But, like, outside of our home parameters, they kind of let us grow as much as we could, independently, individually. And we come back home, and then we're grounded, like, not grounded, but, like, brought back to earth, to a reality where, you know, we don't know everything. We have an idea of where we want to go, but our parents are there to kind of, like, just hold us together until it's time to let go, kind of thing. And like, that was, like, for me, it's cool because they were strict, you know, but then we're all individually independent. Like, we're not dependent on them now, you know what I mean? Like, there's some people that kind of, they're locked down, they get held locked down the whole time. Then when they're put on their own, it's like they need that comfort, or like the guidance of their parents. But then it wasn't like, the leash wasn't on tight. It wasn't choking us. We had enough room to breathe, you know, enough room to kind of learn and get more knowledge from other people. But at the same time, your core, your foundation, that was our parents. That was what they had given us. And I think that made a huge difference when we came to college, and we kind of knew easy stuff, right and wrong. Like, you better do your laundry, you know, you better wake up for class, all the easy common stuff, that was all brought to us by our parents. And like, all the the individual stuff, independent stuff that we're going through now, like the degrees that we wanted, that was all us and what we wanted to do, what we went through in college or like in high school, our last couple of years, you know, we grew independently, but with the guidance of our parents being super strict and all that stuff. So it wasn't like a negative thing where, you know, they were micromanaging our lives. They gave us the freedom, but at the same time made sure that we knew what our morals were, and which is good. Like I feel like every family, every kid should kind of go through the same thing, you know, get the core from your family, but at the same time grow independently. It's cool.
What's your what's your guys' advice? Because again, we're talking about moving, and we all, like, I think all three of us can agree like it's a good thing. And we have Kason, who's in his first year at Missouri. So really we're kind of speaking to him. But what is your guys' advice to him, or just people in general that are moving from Hawaii or just moving from somewhere from their home to somewhere new? What's your advice to them when to the approach of moving to somewhere else?
I'll go
There you go.
first. So I mean, my main advice is get comfortable with where you are. You know, like I said, you always want to be looking forward. Like, yes, Hawaii, we miss Hawaii. That's where we're from. But you want to make sure you root yourself where you are now, because you're going to be there for 4 years, maybe even longer. So get comfortable. You know, so find the people that you can mend with, that you can vibe with. You know, find those core friends that will keep you comfortable. And shit, my bad. I'm going off on a tangent. Let's cut that one
That's
out.
fine. No, it's good.
Let me try to start again. But yeah, my advice would be just basically try to find that core group of friends that will keep you grounded, keep you comfortable where you are, and just kind of be there for the long run, right? I mean, like Phillip was saying, Hawaii will always be there. Your home will always be there, whether you're from Hawaii, wherever you're from. Like, that will always be there. When you go back, it's going to be the same, right? Like Phillip was saying, when we went back to Hawaii, even though we have been away for years, it felt like everything was the same where we left it. So know that home will always be home. Get comfortable with where you are, root yourself there, create foundations, make new friends, meet
Yep.
faculty, get into clubs, just get involved with your community. And I think that's what's going to help you strive with where you are, versus always looking back at home and missing home. Like, yes, it's good to miss home, but also look forward to the future and do what you can to root yourself in that community that you are, because that's what's going to help you strive and be comfortable with where you are, versus always looking back and wishing you were home.
Yeah, exactly what John said. Go out there and absorb everything that you can absorb. The people, the community, you know, the like you said, the staff, you know, you can never stop learning. And I think when you go off to somewhere outside of Hawaii, you're constantly learning. Like, there's things that we in Hawaii did not know until we came to the mainland and talked to certain people. Like, we don't know much about like the East Coast. Well, Kolby might know now, but then we go, you know, we meet these people, and I think for me, my recommendation would be to just, it's hard. Initially, it's hard to just be outgoing and to talk to people. But like, you already made the biggest step of your life by deciding to go to the mainland. A small step would just go up to the person sitting next to you, introduce yourself, let them know you're from Hawaii. Once you tell them you're from Hawaii, you're good. You're going to be talking to them for like the rest of the semester. So just kind of open up, you know. Don't go to the mainland like with a one-track mind that, you know, you got to get this done. Like, don't be on a mission. Be on, I guess, an open mission with like multiple multiple ways to complete that mission, and just branch out, network, you know, meet these people, let people come into your lives, like what John said too. People come into our lives, and what I said earlier, there's a circle that you kind of want to trust, and you're not going to build a circle by staying in your shell. You got to kind of like expand, and it is hard, but just go. Like I said before, you know, you took the biggest step by going to the mainland. Kason now, who knew he can freaking cut hair? That's a leap that he took. Like, maybe I can cut hair to make some money, and he did it. Now he's getting better, and it's like just trusting in yourself that, you know, even if you fail, like, you're gonna learn from it. You're gonna do better the next time. If you succeed, you're gonna keep doing it, and there's no real right answer, and the only right answer is whatever makes you feel comfortable, what kind of makes you you. And I don't know, it's just don't be locked up, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Just expand, branch out. There's a lot of things you can learn from other people, but at the same time, there's a lot of things that people can learn from you. And like right here, exactly, like where we're talking about all this stuff, I learned so much about you guys too in the past 3 weeks that I had no idea about. And it's cool. You don't know things until you open up. So just open up, and a lot of people are willing to listen, and a lot of people are willing to talk. So just be open, make friends, and that's probably the biggest thing that I think helped me progress and succeed up here in Vegas so far.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly earlier. Be a blank page, right? Be open to new experiences. It's a complete new slate. So just get yourself out there. You can be anyone who you want to be. Just be a blank page and absorb what you can.
And
Yeah,
I
within
think
means,
that's
yeah.
big. Like when you look at it, right? Because wherever you're from, wherever you're born, or wherever you live, that's the bubble you've always known. And the great thing I want to tell you, whoever you are, that's going to be making the move, or you've moved, is that there's going to be a lot of amazing things that happen for you. You're going to learn a lot of things that you didn't know. Like Phillip was saying, Kason, my younger brother, younger cousin, I didn't even know he could cut hair, but he found that out. And maybe that's going to be his passion now, that he can cut hair. He found that out by himself.
Thank
So like
God.
there's going to be friends. There's going to be friends that turn into family. There's going to be partners that you find. There's going to be lessons you learn. And the fact that you left your bubble, you're going to learn everything that's outside of that. Because I think that's the one problem with living in the comfort zone, is when you live in the comfort zone, you can't see beyond that bubble. You can't see beyond that wall, like what's on the other side. But there's a lot of amazing things on the other side. So I just want everyone out there, be optimistic when you're making this change. But also I want to say something, there's that song, you can take the boy from the island, but not the island from the boy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I think that's important too, is embrace who you are. Embrace the fact that you are where you're from. Remember where you're from, and wear that on your chest as like an honor, like a badge. And don't let that, I guess, don't change to the environment you're around. Just because you're in this new place, it doesn't mean that you have to let go of everything you used to be. You don't have to let go of what made you you. And that's important as well. So I just want to end on that note. And of course, with the last segment, third week in a row, we got another song of the week coming from John here. So John, what's the song of the week?
So for song of the week, I'm a big fan of Logic. I love the message that he
Like Logic,
speaks
yeah.
with his music. So the one I picked was "Take It Back," and the line I wanted to share with you all: these people that are ignorant. They cannot see the bigger picture. That must fight and kill and murder each other. But once again, all he ever wanted to do was spread a message of equality for every man, woman, and child, regardless of race, religion, color, creed, and sexual orientation. So I mean, that's kind of everything that I think us three believe in, right? Doesn't
Mhm.
matter where you're from, doesn't matter who you are, man, woman, who you love. At the end of the day, like, we're all equals. We're all put on this earth for a reason, and our goal is to find out what that reason is, right? So, especially in this world where
Sir.
there's a lot of hate, we gotta make sure that we continue to understand that we all come from the same place, right? We all need to understand where we come from, and just continue to grow as humans. And yeah, I mean, Logic, again, the messages that he speaks with his music, you can't go wrong. So that's the message for today. I mean, just love everyone around you, be kind, and move forward.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for everybody for tuning in and listening to the Spoken Thoughts podcast. If you're not following us on IG, we do have an Instagram called Spoken Thoughts. Hit that subscribe button on all podcast platforms. And if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, I ask you to please leave us a rating and review. And until next time, like John said, we love everybody. We love you all. Peace.
Have a
Cheers.
good one.